Fritz the Cat. It's a miracle that a movie like this managed to be a success, especially when everyone believed it was destined to fail. The movie follows the life of Fritz, a college cat obsessed with women and running away from the responsibilities of adult life. He is constantly chasing pleasure and getting himself into trouble, while a chaotic atmosphere full of riots, illegal substances, and social conflicts unfolds all around him. One of the most controversial aspects of the film is its depiction of the characters. Police officers are drawn as pigs, African Americans as crows, and Jewish people as whatever that animal is, which at the time caused a huge stir due to the piece's racial and political content. The plot, set in the 1960s, begins with Fritz seducing many women. Following a wild party at his dorm, two police pigs intervene. Fritz escapes, has an existential crisis, and abandons his studies. He visits a bar of crows, symbolizing racism, and befriends the crow Duke. After consuming some illegal substances, Fritz has a great revelation about the perverse system and starts a revolution in the street. His speech incites the crows to clash with the police. Violence erupts, resulting in several deaths, including Duke. Fritz hides but joins an extremist group of rabbits led by Blue, who plan to bomb a power plant. Fritz later regrets the plan, but the plant explodes with him inside. He survives and is taken to a hospital. Still weak, he pulls the girls he initially seduced onto his gurney when they visit him, and the craziness begins again, bringing the story to an end. Warner Brothers came very close to producing the movie, but backed out when director Ralph Bakshi refused to cut the explicit scenes or hire movie stars for the voice cast, as the studio demanded. Bakshi stood firm on his adult and provocative vision for animation, something that was completely groundbreaking back then. As a fun fact, to add realism to a scene set in a Harlem bar, Bakshi brought actual African American activists into a recording studio and let them speak freely about whatever they wanted. He later edited those recordings and included them in the film unfiltered, achieving a raw and authentic result. The original creator of the comic, Robert Crumb, ended up deeply unhappy with the movie. Although he initially provided sketches and reference material, he hated the final result so much that he decided to kill off the character of Fritz in his comics, hoping to prevent further adaptations. However, that wasn't enough to stop a sequel from being made later. Cat Soup is certainly a strange and elusive animation. Even when the plot is simplified to the maximum, its narrative remains confusing and disturbing. The story follows a small kitten named Nyako, who travels the world alongside Nyata, his half-dead sister, attempting to retrieve the half of her soul that was stolen from her. But in this short film, nothing is exactly as it seems, and its surreal narration is packed with symbolism and open to various interpretations. The central message of the entire movie is the relationship between life and death, exploring the fragility and transience of the former, the acceptance and inevitability of the latter, and the physical and spiritual bridge that connects the two. Nyako and Nyata's journey can thus be understood as a traverse through this transitional space, a sort of purgatory that finally leads to understanding and accepting that life has come to an end. The innocent appearance of the protagonist kitten contrasts sharply with his fascination while watching a bird burn to death, disemboweling his friend the pig until it is hollow, and beating him with sticks until he is finished off, all of it gratuitous and amoral. In this sense, it creates very graphic scenes. Extreme violence is inserted with total naturalness into the character's behavior, which is arguably even more unsettling because the film doesn't call attention to these moments. Instead, it presents them with the same neutrality one would use to depict a children's game. This film is definitively a surreal, poetic, and highly violent journey that uses childlike innocence to explore the darkest themes of human existence. Animal Farm is a film that traumatized a lot of people who thought it was just a cute cartoon about talking animals, only to discover it's a dark and violent story about power and betrayal. The 1954 animated version is the most famous and controversial adaptation of George Orwell's novel. I'll admit, I haven't read the book myself, but I've seen many people online saying that this film is actually a very good adaptation of it. The story begins with the animals rebelling against Farmer Jones, dreaming of freedom and equality. At first, everything seems perfect as the animals run their own farm, but things quickly turn grim. Napoleon, one of the pigs, secretly trains dogs as his private army, chases out his rival, Snowball, and takes over the farm. The pigs grow corrupt, start living like humans, and rewrite the rules to suit themselves. Ordinary animals work harder while getting less, and anyone who protests ends up dead or disappeared, including Boxer, the loyal horse, who was sent to the glue factory instead of retiring. One weird fact is that the film was partly funded by the CIA as Cold War propaganda against communism. The film makes its anti-communist message very clear, showing how a revolution meant to bring equality turns into another dictatorship. Unlike the book, the film ends with the animals overthrowing the pigs to reclaim the farm. A more hopeful conclusion, but one that weakens Orwell's original warning that corrupt power often wins in the end. Made in Abyss is an anime that plunges us into an enigmatic and dark world where adventure and danger are intertwined in a place known as the Abyss. The plot follows Riko, a young orphan who lives in the city of Orth, which is built around the Abyss, a gigantic, deep chasm in the earth filled with both wonders and unknown horrors. The story begins when Riko finds a mysterious robot boy named Reg, who seems to have lost his memory. Reg possesses supernatural powers and is capable of using a powerful weapon integrated into his arm. Together, they embark on a journey into the interior of the Abyss in search of Riko's mother, a famous Abyss explorer known as a cave raider who disappeared long ago. As they descend through the levels of the Abyss, they encounter a series of dangers and marvels. The upper levels of the Abyss are full of strange and dangerous creatures, while the deeper levels harbor even darker and more disturbing secrets. The exploration becomes increasingly perilous, and the characters face physical and psychological challenges that test their courage and determination. One of the most unsettling aspects of the series is the way it explores the obsession with knowledge, the desire to reach the bottom of the abyss despite the mortal risks. The cave raiders often sacrifice their lives and health in search of answers and treasures in the abyss, giving rise to ethical and moral dilemmas. As the two continue their descent into the abyss, they face increasingly deadly challenges and discover horrors that defy their comprehension. Riko's desire to find her mother drives her forward, but also puts her life and the life of her companion Reg in peril. In addition to the physical dangers, the series explores the psychological consequences of abyss exploration, an affliction that affects those who return from the depths of the abyss, causing increasingly severe symptoms as they ascend toward the surface. This curse adds a dark and mysterious element to the plot, as the characters fight to survive and decipher its nature. It is worth noting that the creator of the series, Akihito Tsukushi, has faced controversy after being accused of having a problematic interest in children, often summarized as liking children too much, due to the dark themes and depictions involving the young characters in the series. The Last Unicorn is an animated fantasy film that has, over time, achieved cult status. The story begins in an enchanted forest, where a solitary unicorn lives. It is a place frozen in time, where nothing changes and magic still thrives. One day, the unicorn overhears some hunters saying that she is likely the last of her kind. This idea, which had never occurred to her before, strikes her powerfully. For the first time, she considers the possibility of being completely alone, the final one remaining. This thought compels her to leave her forest and embark on a journey into the unknown, into a world that has forgotten the existence of unicorns. On her journey, she discovers that humans no longer believe in magic. Some cannot even see her as she truly is, because the imagination and faith in the marvelous have faded over time. She is accompanied on this journey by Schmendrick, a clumsy, frustrated magician who still holds on to the hope that true magic can return. They are also joined by Molly Grew, a woman advanced in years and marked by disillusionment. This quest leads her to the castle of King Haggard, a bitter man who has imprisoned all the other unicorns in the sea, using the Red Bull, a faceless, unstoppable creature that obeys his will. Haggard is not evil in the classic sense, Rather, he is someone incapable of feeling happiness who tries to possess beauty and magic in the hope that it will give some meaning to his life. To protect her, Schmendrick transforms the unicorn into a human, who was then named Lady Amalthea. Tragically, this change is not superficial, as she begins to forget everything she once was, a unicorn. For the first time, she feels the fear of death and also experiences love. Her identity becomes confused, and she no longer knows if she is a unicorn disguised as a human or a human who only believes she was once something else. It is the most painful moment of the film because it represents the loss of innocence. It marks the transition to a stage where certainty is gone and where one becomes completely susceptible to being wounded. In the end, when she recovers her true form, she manages to free the unicorns from the sea, and the ocean fills with light as hundreds of them gallop over the waves, happy to be free again. Although this is a triumph, it cannot be described as an entirely happy ending, because when the unicorns are finally released and a protagonist reverts to her true form, she is no longer the same being she once was. This is cemented when she realizes that she will forever remember everything that happened during her human life. That phrase condenses the film's most important message, the idea that even the purest can be transformed by pain, that growing, learning, and surviving leaves permanent marks, and that sometimes, to save something, you have to lose a part of yourself. Barefoot Gen shows the life in Hiroshima during the final days of World War II and follows a young boy who lives with his family in the city. One morning, the atomic bomb explodes, destroying everything around him. The film shows the pure and raw horror of war. You see people melting in the heat, bodies burned beyond recognition, children screaming, and the suffering of survivors. There are no metaphors or symbolism, only the brutal reality of the bombing. After the explosion, Gen tries to help his mother and newborn sister survive among the ruins. He witnesses the collapse of society, starvation, and radiation sickness. The movie is famous for its raw and graphic portrayals of the bomb's aftermath, and has shocked many viewers who thought they were watching a regular animated movie. It's one of the most powerful anti-war films ever made, deeply disturbing and unforgettable. The story is semi-autobiographical because the author survived the atomic bombing of Hiroshima as a child and turned what he saw, what he lost, and what he could never forget into this film. Heavy Metal is an animated anthology bound together by the Lochnar, a glowing green orb described as the sum of all evil. In its first appearance, it melts the flesh off an astronaut in front of his daughter. Cornering the terrified girl, the orb begins recounting how it has spread violence and corruption across time and space. Each segment shows the Lochnar fueling destruction and lust, from a cynical cab driver pulled into murder to reluctant heroes dragged into worlds consumed by war, demons, and explicit sexuality. Graphic deaths, brutal armies, and a relentless obsession with eroticism made Heavy Metal one of the most controversial animated films of its era. The production itself was as chaotic as the film. The project gathered animators from France, Toronto, New York, and England, many of them eager to break away from Disney's suffocating constraints to work on something taboo and forbidden. But Columbia Pictures moved up the release date, forcing the crews into grueling 14-hour shifts, often in the middle of non-stop parties. The work even included provocative reference sessions. Playboy model Carol Debiennes posed to capture the sensual movements of Tarna, the warrior who dominates the film's final segment. Its soundtrack became legendary, pulling in Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult, Nazareth, Cheap Trick, and even Devo, who show up animated in the Tarna sequence, performing Through Being Cool. Despite mixed reviews, some critics dismissed it as juvenile or opportunistic. Heavy Metal grossed over $20 million and became a midnight cult phenomenon, remembered for its violence, eroticism, and psychedelic atmosphere. Over time, it came to be seen as a direct challenge to Disney's family-friendly monopoly on animation, a libertine scream that fused blood, sex, and rock music into something audiences had never seen before. Angel's Egg. Beneath the ruins of an old city, soldiers hunt giant, ghostly fish-shaped shadows. There, a young girl is found caring for an egg. She is never apart from it, and we never learn why she guards it or how she came to possess it. The girl ventures out to explore the world, collecting water samples wherever she goes. During one of these explorations, she encounters a soldier, and without a single word exchanged, he begins to accompany her. From that moment on, the two people engage in a silent debate about the egg's contents, and whether it is worth finding out what is inside. It is an artistic and extremely stimulating film with a philosophical bent that requires patience and open attention from the viewer to grasp. Though often received as an ambiguous art film, Angel's Egg is a blend of profound meanings and symbols open to interpretation. The entire weight of the film rests upon the two characters, the girl and the warrior, whose inner worlds seem reluctant to reveal themselves but gradually become more tangible. Dialogue is scarce, and the film limits itself to showing us its characters and the dark, disconcerting world they inhabit. The plot is virtually incomprehensible, and it is very difficult to gain an idea of the genuine meaning of the symbolism present throughout the film. This may lead one to believe that it truly has no inherent meaning, and that the director's sole intention was to create and transmit beauty in the same way a moving painting would. The most defining characteristic of the movie is the absence of dialogue. However, the few words the protagonists do exchange are just as symbolic as the visual content itself. As you might guess, the main draw of this work is the symbolism presented, an elusive symbolism based on elements of Christianity, such as faith, Noah's Ark, and various other symbolic components.